Hi, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how you can create this cool bubbles animation in Adobe After Effects without using any third-party plugins. So let's get started. So create a new comp. I'm going to go to preset of 1080, 25 frames a second. First thing I'm going to do is have some type. Let's go with bubbles. The typeface I'm using is called Aviva. It's part of the Adobe Typekit. So if you do have a Creative Cloud subscription, you can just click on this button here and type in Aviva, and you can sync the font to your machine. So I'm just gonna set this to around 400 or so. It works if you've got a nice like a rounded font that looks a bit like family friendly kind of style. I'm just gonna call this actually text, and I'm gonna create a new comp and call this displacement, and I'm going to create a new solid by going to layer and solid, and I'm going to type in ramp and add a gradient ramp. I'm going to select the start of the ramp to start in the top left corner and the end of the ramp to start in the bottom right corner, and then I'm going to type in colorama, apply that. Go to the output cycle, go to ramp gray, and select the cycle repetitions to 8. And then I'm going to add a turbulent displace. I have to select the layer first, double click, he adds that. And I'm going to select the amount to 400. And that's all I have to do. One thing I forgot to show in the preview was some animation, so I'm just going to add some here. If you just Alt click on the stopwatch, so I hit Alt to get this up, and I'm just going to type, I just want it to be animating basically up like this. So I could keyframe it, but by just pressing the stopwatch here, moving to 6 seconds and holding down shift as I scroll and just going negative, going to negative value, and it moves up like that. That's perfectly fine. But I like to have some control. I just like to know how fast it's going. So I'm just going to alt click on the stopwatch. I'm going to get rid of those keyframes by clicking on the stopwatch. I'm just going to type in bracket and value, because I'm not going to change this value here, so I'm going to reference it, and comma, and then type in time times negative, say 200, bracket, and that's moving up like this, quite a steady pace. Okay, that's that done. And now I'm going to press tab, and no, I'm going to pull the displace into here. I'm going to hide it, the text layer. I'm going to add a tint effect and select our color. I think I'm going to go with like a similar to what I had in the example. So that looks quite nice, and even as a element on its own, that looks quite cool. But that's not what we're here to do. What I'm going to do next is add CC Mr. Mercury, and this is the main effect that that's gonna drive our animation. So you can see it just pulls out these like cool looking liquid bubbles. So let's just tweak a few things. What we're going to do here is basically use this as a mask for our text. So we need to make it quite wide, and the only thing I need to do here is basically change this to fire and this to blob out, and I'm just going to select a keyframe here, go to 2 seconds and select depth size. And now if I just move this place above the bubbles, switch bubbles back on, change the track matte to alpha? No, not that one. Got this wrong. Got this the wrong way. I want that below it, and select this to alpha. So now, well, I actually didn't. Just going to select, drop this down to a half, just so I can work a bit faster. And there's a few more settings that I need to do. I'm going to select velocity to say 1.5. Birth rate is fine. I think everything else can stay the same. Maybe that can switch to 0. Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. Switch that. So you can see we've got this, I mean that effect is quite cool on its own, but I don't want the bottom to be moving like that, so we just need to adjust this producer, just move that lower. And now when we press play, we've got this cool effect. Cool, now we're going to duplicate and just change a few settings. I'm just going to press U to reveal my keyframes, scroll back to frame 0, get rid of the keyframe there. This one I'm just going to have different settings here. I'm going to change this to around 55 or something that's the same width as the text. It looks okay. So these are going to act as like the main bubbles. I'm just going to change a few settings here. This time I'm going to go resistance 0.3, extra set to 3, loft depth size is going to be smaller, and the birth size is going to be small, 0. So now we've got this. Well, that's a bit too vortexy for my liking, so let's see what I can do to change that. I'm going to select the gravity to around 3. So that looks like it's going to work better. Change the producer to start around here. So I'm just going to change the depth size to probably around this size here. Yeah, I'm not liking the look of that. Alright, the radius I'm going to set to 0. And that's better. And I'm going to do the same here. Radius to 0. And that's basically the animation zone. We just need to turn the bubbles off. So we have a birth rate option, which is here. Set a keyframe, and after 2 seconds, set that to 0. So now when we hit play, we've got these cool bubbles. And that's basically it. In the example at the beginning, I showed it animating off, and that's pretty simple. You just come here, and I think what we're going to do is just change the birth rate to 0, and then we move forward, it just animates off. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate this layer and turn that track matte off and just reveal my keyframes and just bring this across here, time it a bit better, and I'm going to move that producer up here, and I want these bubbles to be bigger than the ones beforehand, so just increase like that, and now should kind of like wipe off. A few other things I'm going to do is just here, there's no depth between the bubbles and the types, so a quick way to do that is either just by changing the color or adding a drop shadow. So I'm just going to add a drop shadow, and if you want a more cartoonish vibe, then you can go with you know, a softness of 0, but if you just want a bit more realistic, just tweak that softness and bring that opacity a bit lower. Yeah, I think that just about works. And let's preview this. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the tutorial. If you have any questions, leave a comment below and I'll reply. If you've seen an effect in another video and you don't know how it's done and there's no tutorial for it, please put a link below and I'll try and figure out how it's done and make a tutorial about it. If you like this video, give it a like. If you haven't liked it, give it a dislike. Tell me what you didn't like about it. It's my first tutorial. And if you want more tutorials, I'll be posting a few more now. Consider subscribing as well so you don't miss out. Alright, see you next time. Oh, and the project file will be available in the description. Okay, bye.